Okay, so you know how you check your weather app sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, light rain, no big deal. Well, this is not one of those times. What's going on across the U.S. right now? Starting today, Friday, March 14th, 2025, and going through Sunday. This is something else. This is a major weather event, not just like your average weekend forecast.
Yeah, you really need to pay attention to this one. And what's significant is we're talking about multiple threats all at once across a huge part of the country. We're talking severe thunderstorms, and within that, a high risk of a significant tornado outbreak. And then on top of that, you got the potential for widespread damaging winds, large hail, and adding even more danger into the mix, a significant wildfire risk in the plains and the Southwest.
So this is like a multi-pronged attack from the weather gods.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not a good time to be caught off guard.
Okay, so this kind of widespread event, it doesn't just like appear out of nowhere, right? This system has a history. The reports we've been looking at suggest it actually started way out on the West Coast.
Exactly. So this system, if you think back to Thursday, March 13th, this same system was causing problems in Southern California. We saw heavy rain there, led to mudslides, even some tornado activity, strong winds around 85 miles per hour in some spots. There were flood warnings across several counties, and unfortunately, there were even some people who needed to be rescued from their cars because of those mudslides. So this is a system that's already shown it can pack a punch as it starts moving eastward.
So it's like this thing hit. California did some damage. Now it's heading our way.
Okay.
So today our goal is to really understand what makes this severe weather outbreak so important for you to know about what kind of impacts it might have and really pull out the key information from the reports we've been looking at.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
We want to give you a clear picture of what to expect over these next few days and point out the areas where you really need to be on high alert.
So let's start with the timing. This isn't just going to be over quickly, is it? This is a multi-day event.
Yeah, this is a really critical point. It's not just one bad weather day. It's a longer period where the risk is elevated. So it starts today, Friday, mainly affecting the Midwest. Then as we go into Saturday, the focus shifts south and east, impacting the South. And finally, on Sunday, the East Coast will start to feel the effects.
And right from the start on Friday, the Storm Prediction Center, the SBC, they issued some pretty strong warnings, didn't they?
They did, yeah. For today, Friday, the SPC issued a level 4 out of 5 risk for severe weather in a large area that covers the Mississippi Valley, lower Ohio Valley, and the Tennessee Valley. So that's a significant chunk of the country. And a level 4 means you should expect widespread severe weather in those areas.
Now, when we talk about severe weather, I think a lot of us immediately think of tornadoes. And the reports we have definitely highlight that as a major concern, especially on Saturday.
Yeah, you're right to focus on that. There's a very strong expectation of a significant tornado outbreak. And Saturday looks like it will be the most dangerous day for that threat, particularly in the Deep South. So we're talking states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama.
And this is where it gets really serious, right? Because the SBC actually issued a high-risk designation for Saturday in that area. That's a level 5 out of 5. That's not something you see very often.
No, absolutely not. A level 5 high risk is rare. It's reserved for times when forecasters are very confident that there will be widespread and dangerous severe weather. And this has been issued for eastern Mississippi and western and central Alabama, including major cities like Birmingham, Tuscaloosa in Alabama, Jackson, Hattiesburg in Mississippi. To give you some context, high risks are issued on less than 1% of all severe weather forecast days. There have only been a few of these in the past few years.
Wow. So if you're in that level 5 zone, this is definitely the time to be paying attention and taking precautions.
Yeah.
Well, what exactly are they expecting in terms of tornadoes on Saturday?
So the SPC is forecasting numerous significant tornadoes within that high-risk area. And what's especially concerning is some of these have the potential to be long track and violent. They're talking about the possibility of EF4 or stronger tornadoes. These are the really destructive ones that can stay on the ground for a long time and cause widespread damage.
That's frankly alarming. And it sounds like Friday isn't without tornado risk either.
No, Friday also has a significant tornado risk. While Saturday is the peak in the Deep South today, Friday, the risk extends from southern Mississippi and Alabama northward all the way to northern Illinois and Iowa. And within that larger area, there's a level 4 risk in parts of the Mississippi Valley stretching from southeast Iowa down to Memphis, including cities like St. Louis and Paducah. So the tornado threat is present on both days across a wide area.
And there's also an increased danger because a lot of this severe weather is expected to continue overnight.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. Nighttime tornadoes are statistically more than twice as likely to be deadly compared to those that happen during the day. That's because it's harder to see them coming and people are often asleep and less likely to get warnings. The fact that these severe storms are expected to last through the night on both Friday and Saturday really increases the danger. So Having a way to get those warnings while you're sleeping is vital.
Okay, so tornadoes are a major concern. But severe weather involves more than just that. We're also hearing about damaging winds and hail.
That's right. Widespread damaging wind gusts are expected, potentially reaching hurricane force. We're talking 60 to 100 miles per hour in some areas. And along with that, there's a risk of large hail, possibly up to the size of baseballs. These can cause significant damage to property even if a tornado doesn't hit.
We've already seen some of these strong winds affecting the southern plains today, haven't we?
Yes. We have reports of hurricane-force wind gusts across the southern plains. This has already led to widespread impacts, including power outages affecting over 100,000 customers in Texas and Oklahoma. We've also seen reports of trucks and trees being knocked over by the strong winds, and unfortunately, these winds are also creating blinding dust storms in the region, making travel very dangerous.
And it sounds like even further east, you might be seeing some significant wind events as well.
Absolutely. A squall line is expected to form in eastern Missouri and central Iowa this afternoon. This line of storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts in the range of 60 to 80 miles per hour. And importantly, these squall lines can also produce quick-hitting, short-lived tornadoes as they move eastward. This particular line is expected to move swiftly east into Illinois. And looking ahead to Sunday, even the East Coast is facing the potential for damaging winds as the system moves through.
Now, this weather system isn't just about rain and wind, is it? There's also a very serious wildfire threat in certain parts of the country.
Yeah, this is a really critical aspect of this whole event that people need to be aware of. There's an extremely critical wildfire risk forecast for Friday across the Southwest and the plains. And this is because of the combination of very high wind gusts, potentially reaching up to 90 miles per hour in some areas, and very dry conditions due to the ongoing drought.
And which areas are facing the highest wildfire risk?
So the areas at the highest risk are a wide stretch from Texas through Kansas and into parts of New Mexico. And unfortunately, we're already seeing fast-spreading wildfires breaking out in Texas and Oklahoma today. Evacuations have been ordered in places like Leedy, Oklahoma, and Lake Tanglewood in Texas near Amarillo. The National Weather Service office in Wichita even issued a warning about a particularly dangerous situation regarding the fire risk, emphasizing the potential for property damage and even loss of life.
It's almost hard to believe that you could have such a high risk of both tornadoes and wildfires happening at the same time because of the same overall weather system. What are the underlying meteorological factors that are driving all of this?
So it really comes down to a powerful combination of atmospheric ingredients all working together. We have a sharp southward plunge of the jet stream, which is like a fast river of air high up, and this is interacting with a strong low-pressure system that's developing along a cold front. This low-pressure system is then pulling a lot of warm, moist air northward from the Gulf of Mexico. And that warm, moist air acts as the fuel for thunderstorms to develop and intensify.
And what about the intense spinning motion you see in these tornado-producing storms? What's causing that rotation?
So that's where something called wind shear comes into play. Wind shear is basically the change in wind speed and direction as you go higher up in the atmosphere. In this situation, you have surface winds that are generally coming from the south or southeast. But as you go up to around 10,000 feet, the winds are blowing in from the southwest at very high speeds. This difference in wind creates a spinning motion in the atmosphere. And when thunderstorms form in this kind of environment, they can tilt and rotate, and that rotation is what can lead to the formation of strong tornadoes. The strong jet stream winds high up also help by allowing the storms to transfer that momentum down to the ground, resulting in damaging gusts and increasing the tornado potential.
I think I even saw a mention of the negative tilt of the low-pressure system in the reports. What does that mean?
Yeah, the negative tilt essentially means that the low-pressure system is oriented in a way that makes it stronger and intensifies the weather it produces. Think of it like this. It gives the system more leverage or oomph, making severe weather more likely.
So we've talked about when this will be happening and the different kinds of threats. Can we break down geographically where these different risks are most pronounced over the next few days?
Absolutely. For today, Friday, the highest risk for severe thunderstorms, including tornadoes, is in the Mississippi Valley, including states like southeast Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, western Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee, and northeastern Arkansas. Cities like St. Louis, Paducah, and Memphis are in this higher risk area. The wildfire threat today is focused on Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and parts of New Mexico, potentially affecting cities such as Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, Lubbock, and Amarillo.
And then on Saturday, the focus shifts south.
That's right. On Saturday, the Deep South is the area of greatest concern for severe weather, especially tornadoes. This includes eastern Mississippi and western and central Alabama, with cities like Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Jackson, and Hattiesburg facing the highest risk. That level 5 area, the surrounding areas including eastern Louisiana, most of Alabama, western Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle are also at significant risk. Level 4 cities like New Orleans, Atlanta, and Mobile are included in this broader risk zone.
And what about Sunday as the system moves east?
By Sunday, the threat of severe weather will be moving towards the East Coast. While the tornado threat is expected to be lower, there's still a risk of damaging wind gusts and potentially a few isolated tornadoes from the mid-Atlantic states down into the southeast. So this area includes cities like Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Richmond, Raleigh, Wilmington, and even down to Jacksonville, Florida.
This sounds like a really widespread and dangerous situation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
What should people in these affected areas be doing right now?
The most important thing is to stay informed. Keep monitoring the latest forecasts and alerts from the National Weather Service. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings, especially at night when you might be sleeping. It's crucial to have a safety plan in place, including knowing where your designated shelter is. Ideally, an underground room basement or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. If you live in a high-risk wildfire area, be extremely careful to avoid doing anything that could start a fire and be prepared to evacuate if you are ordered to by local authorities.
So just to quickly recap, we're looking at a significant multi-day severe weather outbreak across a large part of the U.S., starting on the West Coast, moving through the Midwest, reaching its peak for tornadoes in the Deep South on Saturday, and then impacting the East Coast on Sunday. And we also have a critical wildfire risk in the plains and Southwest today.
That's a good summary. The potential for strong, long-track tornadoes on Saturday in the southeast is particularly concerning, and the extremely critical wildfire risk in the plains today adds another layer of danger that you need to be aware of.
This deep dive into the unfolding severe weather really reminds you of the immense power of our atmosphere and how important it is to stay informed as these dynamic and potentially dangerous systems evolve. It makes you think about how interconnected our weather patterns are, with something starting on one side of the country having such varied and significant impacts thousands of miles away.
Yeah, it's a good reminder for us to never take the weather for granted and to always be prepared for the unexpected.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for breaking all of this down with us today. It's been really informative.
You're welcome.